The story kicks off 3 years ago when humans attempt to exterminate the monsters of a mysterious island. What's the result? Total failure because their weapons don't even tickle the creatures. As a last resort, they send in a group of hunters who are more amateurs than experts, and the giant ants inhabiting the island munch them down without breaking a sweat. These hunters are so clumsy that it's like watching a live tutorial gone wrong. But just when all seems lost, the S-rank hunters arrive. The elite of the elite, the masters of skull crushing. They spring into action, and with impressive ease, they annihilate the ants as if they were mere insects. Here we meet the protagonist Byung-gu, the toothless wonder Usopp, who can't stop praising his boss, and Yunho, the leader who sends the queen ant packing in seconds. On the other hand, we have Jong-in, a guy who, with all the calm in the world, faces a swarm of ninja ants. With a brutal attack, he turns them into fright ants. Although stronger ants arrive, the city dwellers will take care of them. Now, let me explain how the whole hunter situation works. Decades ago, portals began appearing that connected to other dimensions filled with monsters so powerful that even guns didn't affect them. Fortunately, some people awakened supernatural powers and became hunters. These hunters are classified by ranks according to their magical power, ranging from E the weakest to S the overpowered. An E-rank hunter is basically an ordinary person since their power is so low that it's barely noticeable. In the present, we see a group of hunters ready to enter what they call a portal, but you and I know it's a dungeon filled with ugly bugs. Their job is simple: kill monsters, smash the boss into pieces, and close the portal. Oh, and collect crystals to trade for money, like Pokemon Go, but with life or death on the line. The stronger the monster, the more expensive the crystal. But if they don't kill the boss, the monsters come out to roam the real world. And that's when the real chaos begins. Ark runs into his buddy Kim, who tells him he's expecting his second child, a hunter dad getting back to work because diapers won't pay for themselves. Meanwhile, our hero Sung Jin-woo, also known as the weakest weapon of humanity, makes an entrance. This guy is so weak that every time he goes to an E-rank dungeon, i.e. tutorial level, he ends up in the hospital. And yes, if he's on this mission, it's because the dungeon is so easy that even a primary school kid could handle it. Or so they think. Joo-hee, the group's healer, approaches him, worried because Sung always ends up shredded. She has a soft spot for the poor guy, but every time she sees him, she wonders if he's in a survival game. While they chat, the team leader, Sung Chiel, announces it's time to go in. Sung, feeling all pro because he bought a new knife, the kind you find on infomercials, thinks he's ready. Although, to be honest, that knife looks flimsier than a saltine cracker. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the president of the Hunters Association, Gobyugi, is busy acting important, talking about the magical crystals that monsters drop when they die. They sell those crystals to companies like luxury rechargeable batteries. Just when our toothless hero gets his first crystal and feels like a true hunter, a monster attacks him. Of course, his cheap knife shatters, and Sung takes a direct hit that leaves him more flattened than a forgotten pizza. But here comes Park to save his hide. Sung Jin-woo is left between life and death again, but Joo-hee, who must be used to this by now, heals him with her magic. Meanwhile, the rest are still dishing out beatings like they're in a street fight. Back to Gobyugi, who continues his monologue about magical stones. Apparently, high-ranking monsters leave stones that can be turned into weapons, and the mana mineral extracted from dungeons serves a similar purpose, though with less power. And the government is all excited because they think they're going to use that mineral to create an energy source stronger than nuclear power and more efficient than hydropower. Basically, they believe they're going to save the world, or at least make Wi-Fi faster. Then they defeat the boss, and amid the laughter and celebrations, Joo-hee scolds Sung Jin-woo. With all the effort it took you, you're stuck with a rank E crystal. He nearly has a heart attack. Meanwhile, one of the group's snitches finds a tunnel, and as in any good horror movie, everyone realizes that even though they killed the boss, the dungeon is still open. They decide to investigate, thinking it might be another E-rank dungeon. But the leader, Song, says, let's vote. The vote ends in a tie. But Sung, the weakest weapon of humanity, hasn't voted yet. When everyone thinks he'll say no, the toothless wonder surprises everyone and says he wants to go in. Why? Because he needs the money, since after his father's disappearance, he's responsible for his sister's schooling and his mother's treatment, who's in a coma due to an illness called the last dream. What a family drama. Meanwhile, the big businessman Choi is hiring hunters and using a magic ball to measure power. He recruits 2 new members, 1 B rank and 2 C rank, because of course they always want the strongest. But Choi has doubts about whether they'll encounter anyone stronger than Kao, who is S rank. Just then, while some bandits are robbing a citizen, Kao appears as if she has a contract with good luck. The bandits fall like they're in a contest to see who can collapse faster. After walking for 40 minutes with no signs of anything, Joo-hee is still furious with Sung for his vote, and even more so because he almost became sushi. He apologizes and she tells him that when they get out, he has to invite her out. Look how quickly she forgot about the near squishing. When they reach the end of the tunnel, they find an impressive door. Kobyuki gives them a talk on how to act in portals, which is more like if you don't want to die, do this when they open the door, the torches light up, and everyone is amazed by the grandeur of the dungeon. But oh surprise, there are no monsters, just giant statues. One of them, the scariest, is sitting on a throne as if she were the queen of nightmares. Then, the snitch finds an inscription with the rules for leaving. Rule number 1, venerate God. Rule number 2, praise God. Rule number 3, test your faith in God. Jui panics when she notices that the statue seems to be watching. Suddenly, the door closes. Panic ensues. One of the members decides to try to escape, but he gets sliced in half like a salami. As the group realizes they're one step away from death, Sung stares at the statue. With his experience of being on the brink of death, he knows he has to act. He recalls a time he was trapped in a dungeon and ran out of food. He complains about his useless knife and tells the others to duck. But of course, some end up like guinea pigs, and Juhi, frustrated, thinks they're all going to die there. And so Jin Woo comes to the conclusion that this time it's the end. The statue won't stop until they're all on the fresh meat hunters list. What an adventure. And that's where we'll wrap up this exciting summary. If you liked what you saw and don't want to miss the next craziness, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. That way, YouTube will notify you when I upload the next part.